while, you know that director writer Sean Heights is a buddy of ours. He likes to come on whenever he drops a new film, and his newest one is on Screenbox and streaming all over the place, and it is a blast and a half. And I am so excited to have the three principal characters from Cannibal Comedian with me today. Aaron Prager, who is the Cannibal Comedian himself, uh, Robert Dunne, who plays Carrie, the I don't know. You could kind of like a pirate comedian in a sense that you kind of got some backhanded ways about your stand up material, man. You swindle it away.
Stealer of jokes,
Yeah.
extraordinaire.
And then Austin Judd, actress extraordinaire. She is our heroine of this movie, and she aspiring singer songwriter. Crystal, who is dropping that
Hi,
album,
everyone.
dropping the album on her way before the chance encounter with Charlie. But man, first and foremost, you guys, this movie was a ton of fun to watch. I was telling Austin, I mean, and really, it's even before Austin's on screen, Aaron, when you're, that Texas Chainsaw Moss chase scene in the first, 2 minutes, all the way through the end. This thing just screams like the love of horror, and it was a blast to watch. So congratulations to all three of you.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Nice.
One thing I'm curious about right off the get, Sean and I've told him this before, but he's very Rob Zombie-esque in the fact that he has this cast of characters and actors and actresses, and they all kind of follow him from project to project. Austin, I know you have been with him since Big Top Evil. Aaron,
Yep.
I know you have worked with him for a while, and Robert, you have worked with him more than once too, haven't you?
Yeah, we've done like little projects together, but Cannibal is probably the biggest one that I was on like a feature length thing with him.
So
Yep, and the sadistic and Lucifer's Acts as well.
Yes, yeah, definitely. But just going, we can start, kind of go around with Aaron and then Austin and then Robert about like how you guys found, or if Sean just approached you right off the get, or like how these roles came to you guys.
Well, we were working at Universal Studios. Like some of us do when we want to just entertain, and we have a thing for horror. I will say, Sean and I were a couple of Ghostbusters. Robert was one of our Slimers, great, but we backstage. We just had a couple moments where Sean and I were connecting, and he approached me. He was writing a film. He says, "Yeah, I'm writing this thing. I'm writing a script, and." I keep thinking of you as I'm writing it, and we knew each other for a few weeks, and he asked me if I'd be interested, and I said, "Oh, of course, bring it." I'm excited about that, not knowing that he would legitimately hit me up about a month and a half later and go, "Okay, I need like a minute of your audition tape or something. I need something." So I did that, and yeah, he thought it was cool, and I went out in the middle of the night and showed up and met all these wonderful people, and the rest is history for that.
Wow. When you say working with Sean as Ghostbusters, that immediately screams to me Halloween Horror Nights.
That
So
is what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, Halloween Horror Nights. I've done it a few years. I was able to be actually in some day ops and stuff. You're not in here. And so it was, I've done Frankenstein. I did a couple Shrek runs. But for the most part, the Halloween Horror Nights, I mean, when I came in the first time years and years ago, I did Mike Myers. And I was able to do that more than once. And that was so much fun.
It was a fucking
doing that. And then finally, with Ghostbusters, they put my face out there along with Sean. So, yeah, we thought we were just, a couple of big shots running around and making fun of each other.
Maze, man. It was a great maze.
Yeah. No, people really enjoyed it. They liked it the first year. And then I got to do it last year, too. I was when they did the Frozen Empire Ghostbusters maze. I got to reprise my role as Dan Aykroyd. And I would always ask him, I go, well, he's like in his, 60s, 70, so do you guys want to put makeup on me and make me look a little older? And they go, no, you're fine. That was a nice compliment in itself.
In fact, younger makeup if possible.
Appreciate it.
That's cool, man. So you were one of the raise the colt.
Yeah. No, I was one of the few that got to come back and do it again. So it was awesome.
Awesome, buddy. Austin, did Sean, have you in mind, or did you catch wind? How did you find yourself in another Heights production?
Well, shortly after Big Top Evil came out, he messaged me a few months later saying, "Hey, I'm working on this new movie, and I have this character with you in mind. She'd be a country singer, and she just kind of has this harder edge, very much kind of like Candy, but more tamer." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally interested. Let's do this." And he's like, "It's going to be filmed out in California, and it's going to be out in Morongo Valley and all this other stuff." And so I just went up out there for 2 whole weeks and had a blast, like shooting a majority of the movie out in the middle of the desert with these guys. I rented a motorhome and everything, so I was on site the whole time. And that actually came in handy on set on occasion. We also use it as kind of a place to have a green room and practice our lines, because Miss Sadistic and Lucifer's Acts never really had like very specific lines like this before. So it was fun being able to run lines with them in between scenes and stuff. So lots of good memories. I'm glad I did it. And now we get the fruits of our labor. And I'm really excited the movie's out. I just got my box in today and I love it. It looks so fresh. It's like it's a shiny new cover with a red VHS tape. Like that is classy.
Yeah, I saw somebody on my feed did the Patreon, so they got the clamshell VHS that all you guys signed as part of the Patreon. That looks really, really cool.
Oh, thanks.
But it's amazing to hold that plastic in your hand. It's been a while. It's like it's the first VHS I've put in my hands in years.
Yeah.
And just to look at it, and it has all the little indentations, that little square, and when you put it into the VCR, it's got that nice label that pop, the last thing you see when you put it in the VHS in the player. VCR. God. It's cool.
I'm old enough to remember, man. Yeah. Robert, how about you? How did you come to find this role of Carrey?
So similar to Aaron's story, I also worked Halloween Horror Nights, and it was Aaron, myself, and Sean in a Ghostbusters maze, and I was not a Ghostbuster. I was Slimer, and that was pretty horrific, that costume, but that's another podcast for another day. And we just like hit it off right away. It also helped that we happened to be on the same schedule for the most part, so our breaks were kind of similar, and we would just hang out. And what was cool about the Ghostbusters maze is that it was right next to Hill Valley from Back to the Future, which is right here. I have my posters up. Everyone could see clearly that those are Back to the Future posters. And so Aaron, Sean, and myself, we would go out to the clock tower and film reenactments of Back to the Future, which you can see a little bit of in the documentary that's on the Blu-ray. And that's kind of how we like got to know each other. And it was like one of the first things we ever shot together. And then, Sean brought up that he had this script called Cannibal Comedian, which I immediately thought was hilarious based off the title. And he had some ideas like what he wanted to do with it. And he told me about the Carrey character, because he's trying to remember how he described him in the beginning, but basically like that, my sarcasm, my dry humor, he felt like could bring a bit of life to Carrey. So he thought I would be good for that. And at the time I'm like, cool, let's shoot a movie. Out here in LA, a lot of people, let's shoot a movie, but you never know if it's ever going to happen. But then it did. And it was like this thing of like, whoa, we are actually shooting a movie. This is amazing. And Aaron's great. And, and then Austin came out from Florida, and it was like, oh, this is a real thing. And we just had the best time. So.
Well, right on, man. And the thing that I think complements Charlie's story so well is the relationships, the 3 tiers of relationship that you kind of build, Aaron. Austin mentioned Miss Sadistic and Lucifer's Ex. Those 2 are like super nice people to talk to as well. Yeah. And they were kind of like your parental figures, and then you had Austin's character, the love interest, and then with Robert, it's like the colleague, which the don't want to get into too many spoilers, but there's a spin there. So you got to play with like even though you are this bad man, you got to play in this world where you get to humanize him and make him like this sympathetic villain. How was that? Was that a lot of fun, or was that challenging? Did you enjoy like having him be very much? I mean, you work at Universal, so Shrek. There's many layers to Charlie.
Well, it had a very unique thing. Sean in this movie, we as sounds corny, but as actors, you always were told to find an arc in how you want to portray a certain character. It should, whether it starts high, gets into a lull, or a valley, and then gets high again, or the opposite. And this movie really, really was so much fun because he gave me so many different things, different emotions to play with, as well as telling me what specifically what other actors he wants to see in my own face, which was complimentary, as well as, oh yeah, okay, all right, Nicolas Cage, this take, all right, we can do that, other things like that. But I found it really fun to be able to put on a mask, be that Mike Myers kind of scary, tall, kind of a character, and then really actually do some acting, to really be like just myself, or just basically Charlie when he's at his lowest. So it's a blast.
Yeah, I don't know if you have ever seen of a movie. It's called Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon. Have you ever heard of this movie?
I have heard of it. I have not seen it, unfortunately.
So, in that movie, the killer plays his mask a lot like the way that you do, as far as when Nathan would take the mask off, he's very much Leslie, and he's just this like dude, a little bit off, but he's just this like nice guy. But the second that the mask comes on, he becomes Leslie Vernon, this serial killer. And so it was kind of cool to see you get to play, like you just said, like put the mask on. Now you're obviously the aesthetic he's going for is very an homage to Texas Chainsaw. So you're this ruthless killer when the mask is on, but mask comes off, and no, you're Charlie. You're yucking it up at the comedy club, and you have these big aspirations of being a comedian. So kudos to you to getting to play both sides of the coin, man.
Yeah, no, kudos to Sean. Like that was an extreme, and I think a lot of our characters had those moments. We all had these very horror kind of psycho moments, and then it would show our real side, which was great for everybody.
I think Aaron did that so well, because there are times in the movie when I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy murdered people, and I'm like, but Aaron just like played it so well. He's just such a likable guy in the movie and in real life, kind of. All right,
I'm out.
No, all right, see you later. And I'm out. No, but that added, I mean, we could go into our chemistry later, but he did such a good job of just like showing both sides, ones and zeros like of this character. So I just had to add that in, little sugar your way,
And the real like the big thing where you really see that human side come is when you get Crystal, Austin's character, and she's in the house, and you're like coming to her for moral support, like trying to get her to give you, the pep talk before your first open mic night. And Austin, I know the humor / the realism of this psychopath's really looking for emotional support from a girl that's chained to a bed in a bedroom. The way that you play the way that you played that was, equally as awesome, man. And your character
Thank you.
was a lot of fun to watch. The chemistry, without giving spoilers away, I will say that I laughed out loud several times in the dream sequence. Like,
yeah, that was a funny day.
like the two of you guys together, you guys were a lot of fun to watch, and you, the viewer or listener of this, will see that their character arc throughout the movie definitely has this evolution to it that made you not want to, like, oh, I'll finish watching this tomorrow. This is very much you want to just sit down and watch this movie. So how was playing that role for you, Austin?
Oh, I thought it was great. It was really interesting playing the line between a survivor and Stockholm syndrome, because she was not a victim. She was pissed off, and she was not going to just lay there. So she, just like in the biz that she's in with the music industry, she learns to adapt. She figures out her surroundings, and she starts to empathize with him. I feel like on an honest level, even though she did not like her circumstances. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the way things play out is just so great. I think it's a really great ending, and it makes people ask about a second movie. So that's always good too.
Yeah, I definitely had that question in the back of my mind. And Robert Carey, so I did the whole stand-up thing in the Bay Area. I was telling Aaron, we're over by SAC, and the thing when we meet your character and you guys do that scene outside, and it's like, without getting spoilers, but you're shaking the guy down. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh shit, I know exactly what he's doing. Like, and I will say, though, I did not see, there's another laugh out loud moment, the kind of the final, crowning thing of when Lucifer X catches you doing what you're doing, as far as why Charlie's not getting those minutes after a while on stage. That was pretty great to see you, that whole spin too. But you getting to, like, be the owner of the club that Charlie is coming to. Mm-hmm. Are any, and this was a question for you, Aaron, too, or any, Austin, you too, any of the, the extras that were there, are those guys actually stand-up comedians? Did you guys like study stand-up at all, or was that just, Sean's giving you jokes and you go up there and you're pretending to be a stand-up?
Well, what I could speak on is the comedians you see that are not us. Those are real comedians. And as far as, like, Sean giving us jokes, we had jokes in the script, of course, but Sean also wanted to just get as much coverage as possible. So I asked him, like, I always wanted to try stand-up, and I had my stand-up jokes. I don't know if they were funny, but I was like, should I just go on stage and just, if you're just getting kind of B-roll anyway. I wasn't exactly sure what he was getting at the time. But I remember the scene going on stage, and I'm supposed to bomb. And even though the people in the audience were extras, they're not laughing, as they shouldn't be laughing. And it still felt weird. It felt like, oh my, this is awful. Like, I'm bombing, but I'm supposed to be. But then out of the corner of my eye, I would see Sean laughing. I'm like, okay, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. But mine were like a mix of my own jokes and, like, Sean's. And but yeah, that's kind of like my experience with it. And to answer your question on if the other people were comedians, so I was asking, like, a few of them, like, for advice, how to, like, present yourself on stage and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was so cool because when we showed up, and we got to see, these real comics do their, a 10-minute, 20-minute set, and the camera was just rolling. And so we all got to, it was like a free comedy show for me. I'm standing off the side, I'm watching this stuff. And I've been a fan of stand-up comedy. I mean, since, my dad, Steve Martin, before I was born, that stuff. I was a big fan of Sam Kinison, Robert Schimmel, these old guys, and now we're on to Bill Burr and, what have you. There's, but I would always watch and listen to, I'd be on a road trip and I'd listen to a whole album. And I got that sense of, I brought that on the stage of just kind of being relaxed. There's a few times, and just what Robert was saying, we had a script, and we got the script down, and then it was those moments where Sean would be like, all right, we're just going to keep it rolling. Just say what you want. And then there were times where we would just come up with, we'd have our own jokes, and the extras, okay, guys, we want you to laugh like you would at a comedy club, whatever the joke is. I mean, it has to, so we were getting huge boosts of confidence because we're saying anything we want and the crowd's laughing and everything else. And then, like Robert was saying, there were times where we were bombing. And so whatever we did say, the crowd had to just shut up and they could not make a peep. And that was supposed to, represent us not doing well. And were some of those jokes that we did do, while they were funny, they cut it out of the movie at the good times, and then they put them in with the bad, and we don't hear the laughter. And it was easy on stage to be like, oh, okay, didn't like that. So, but for the most part, getting up there and just putting the microphone in front of you, and you got all these people and the lights on you, you can't see the crowd. It's just like the comedy club. And then, of course, Robert and I were even us, we're all talking with these comedians, and then everyone starts thinking that we're all just the same people. We're like, hey, where do you play at? Where's you guys? No, I'm just
Madison Square Garden. Next week.
Yeah, right.
Come see me.
Oh God, yeah. He's just like, go up there and do just do something, and it was Sean made the environment really suitable for our acting abilities, so it helped.
Yeah, basically, if Sean was having a good time, I was okay.
Yes,
so.
Yeah. When Sean says that was perfect, let's go again. That meant he wants another take. When he says okay and then stops it, that's the one he really liked.
Yeah, I've just always been a huge fan of stand-up. That was like my comfort food TV as a kid. I liked watching George Carlin. I loved Andy Kaufman, where the pranks on the audience. Just that was my soul food, and it just put me in a happy place. From a whole stressful day, you come home, watch some stand-up comedy, you feel so much better. It's like you hung out with your friends in your own house with your feet up, eating a pizza, whatever you want. And I guess it's just when you do stand-up, I think you have to not only be in character with the movie, but you have to be honest when you tell the joke. You can't just half-ass it. You have to like commit to the joke, whether you think it's either flavor or not. If that's what your character is presenting, I thought that was kind of a fun twist. It's not just you telling the joke; it's your character telling the joke. So it's like you really have to sell it within their perspective, and I thought that was fun.
Yeah, Austin. Next time we're all together, we should all do an open mic, not tell anybody, and just have a bonding experience, because we're gonna bomb. Have a bonding experience together.
A bombing experience.
A bombing experience.
Be christened.
Be great. Oh, I would love that.
Oh, bro. I mean, I'll tell you what. You can go into an open mic thinking that you're gonna shit the bed, and for all you know, people are gonna love you, man. And my first open mic that I ever did, the guy who was kind of like sending me to places to do it actually sent me to a music open mic. So I showed up and I was like, oh, I'm here for the stand-up open mic. And the club owner's like, well, today's music, but you can still do stand-up. And I'm like, oh, fuck, okay. So it's literally like, like San Francisco, like 5 folk musicians and then me. And it was just like that feeling of like, this is going to be rough.
What's the deal? What folk music?
Yeah. And so, man, like the adrenaline, I mean, you guys know, performing in front of live people, obviously Halloween Horror Nights, is definitely a form of theater. In my opinion, I freaking, have the utmost respect of someone who's been going for like 15 years as a fan for the scare actors and the beating that you guys take. But I know just from the scare actors that I know personally, you guys love scaring the shit out of people. And when you get the reaction, from them, it's kind of fuel to the fire, and that transcends into cinema. When you have a film that is out and the fans are buzzing about it, it's got to feel good, and they're buzzing about Cannibal Comedian, and it's rightfully so. So you guys should be feeling good on all fronts, man. And let me know when you go to that open mic night, because that'd be fun to go check out.
I don't know if I want to tell a single soul my first time, but I'll tell you.
Those crowds are just absolutely great. They the community, the horror community in general, is really what's driving all this action right now. We went around the whole country, and I got to meet a lot of people, and then come back, and then because out here in Southern California, that's Universal Studios. You have the horror nights, and to be, it's funny now that to be both characters, someone with a mask on and then with a knife coming out of some bed sheets and running at you, versus someone who has to stand there and just, and I'm actually fighting the ghosts or something. It's such a great thing. And people love all that, they love the scary stuff, but then, once in a while you'll get these comedic things like Ghostbusters is a great example of, I like ghosts. I like that stuff. I like horror. I like that. But you want it delivered in a different way. And I think that Cannibal Comedian is just, it has both worlds. It's a perfect movie that if you're into horror and maybe your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, what have you, and you're like, hey, you want to get them involved, this might be the movie to do it, to turn them on to that horror genre. Because, I don't care how far, there's parts in Texas Chainsaw that can be humorous.
Oh, sure.
So,
yeah.
It's a fun ride, and it's a fun group to be involved with.
So you can make the alternate trailer make it look like a romantic comedy instead. You've seen them do that with movies before.
Mrs. Doubtfire, a horror movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk some behind the scenes stuff, because Austin's talking about how she rented a motorhome and went out to set and all that stuff. My first reaction upon seeing Charlie's homestead and the club and where he filmed that is, coming from Northern California, to go down to LA and stuff, you can definitely go over the Grapevine, and there's my dad owned a motorcycle dealership for the longest time, and he would always go out to this adventure camp out in the middle of the Grapevine. And you can get really desolate looking areas and not be that far away from civilization in Southern California. Where were you guys?
We were up at 29 Palms, up in the San Bernardino Valley. It's just outside of Palm Springs, and it's this small little valley, and it's secluded. And we had a lot of people that worked out there that got us, that really got themselves involved. Sean really adopted that town, and we ended up filming a couple other things over there, and it did really, really well for us.
Right on.
Yeah, it was like middle of nothing desert.
Yeah, coyotes at night and everything.
And that's where the crew and Aaron and Austin, they all slept. Well, Aaron, you were in a separate house with some crew, and Sean, right?
Yeah.
I was by my lonesome on the murder house property every night.
Yeah, she was.
That was my place at the end of the night. I was truly victim there. I was just by myself all the time, locked up.
Yeah. I drove out there for, I don't want to, it's not really a spoiler, but I went out there for one scene. So I wasn't there overnight, but yeah, I'm glad that I did at least that one scene it's on the Blu-ray, in the extra footage, but I'm glad I at least got the chance to visit the murder house, because so much of that movie takes place there. And yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere. So no way would I have ever come across it again.
Where is your club in relation to the murder house in the real world? Was that
Oh,
closer to like LA's like proper?
yeah. So the actual club is, I want to say, near the
It's Molly
Grove.
Malone's.
Molly Malone's, yeah. Which,
It's
yeah.
like downtown.
Is that, am I right? Is it near
I know it's
the
on
Grove?
Fairfax.
Yeah, maybe I'm making stuff up.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
No,
But
I
I
don't.
wanna say
I don't
through
know the
there.
exact address, but yeah, we filmed 8 or 9 days out in the desert.
Mhm.
And I remember one of the days he was like, "Yeah, Dunne's coming out here," and I was like, "Robert, yes, I'm so excited." And then we did 2 days out at the comedy club, and it's just like a back area of a bar, and it's you see it in the movie. It's perfect for that, just little dusty town. Like it's just a little comedy club that people go to because they got almost nothing else to do there.
Yeah. So while you're answering, I looked it up on Google Maps, and
Thank
yeah,
you.
it's by the Grove. I'm a fact checker right now. Yeah, it was Molly Malone's, which was a bar that I've been to, and it's a kind of cool spot because it's, you walk in and it's a regular bar, but they have a second area that they use for like live music and bands and stuff. And so that was the comedy club, but through a door, which you never see, is a whole other bar, like an Irish pub. So, but you just never see that. And we just kind of turned the like music area into a comedy club, which makes me wonder, because I don't think they actually do stand up there. So I'm like, why not? Like that would be a great place to do stand up. So
Yeah. What would you guys say for each of you was the most memorable day on set? So what and it could
Okay,
be
I'll go
it could
first.
be for whatever reason, whether it be something that happened behind the scenes to how it looks in the final cut of the movie. What was like the day that truly stood out for you personally?
Well, we did. There was it was one of the first days there. Actually, the first day I got there, I had to roll into the base camp, the house that I was staying at. And Sean says, the door is unlocked. Come on in. Your bedroom's the third on the left. And I was hoping he was correct. Otherwise, I would have walked in on someone's bedroom. And I walked in. We had like one of the crew there, just getting ready for bed. It's dark. I'm like, hey, I'm here. Oh yeah, we'll go over there. I didn't know anybody until the next morning at barely sunlight. That was really good. But the classic story that I like to tell is it was like the second or third night. We just did the meatball scene where I'm actually making the meatballs in the movie. And I'm whistling along. I'm putting them in there and stuff. Well, during that day, it was getting hot outside, and we were filming for a few hours in there. And with the raw meat, we used raw meat with some red food coloring, make it a little grosser. And I was literally just smashing raw meat in my hands and putting them in there. And then, okay, good. All right, let's reset. I'd scoop them out, this hot water. And it was this little tiny kitchen in the murder cabin. And then, we break for something, come back, and you could tell that the house was smelling up the place. Like the meat was getting rancid. And I had it all over my hands, and there was chunks in my hair and stuff and whatever. So we get done the night, we go back to catering. Dinner's ready to go. I'm walking up to the house with Sean. We're the last ones to get there. And you got half the crew coming out, and they got plates. I can't see it; it's dark. And they go, "Hey, Aaron, what's Did you hear what we're having? What for dinner?" And I go, "Oh no, what?" And he's like, "Oh, you'll see. It's all right. It's pretty good, And they're eating something. I walk in, and there is a mound of we had spaghetti and meatballs, and literally a mound of meatballs about precisely the same size as the ones I was making. They looked the same. And all afternoon, I've been saying, I don't know if I can eat meat for a few days. This is not going to be good for me. And that was and everyone's, I love that. Everyone had a good laugh with that. Me too. And they were pretty good. Spaghetti was good. Meatballs aside.
Austin, how about for you?
I really enjoyed my scene with Miss Sadistic. We didn't get any scenes together in Big Top Evil, and I just love her so much. So when we got to have a scene together, I was really excited. And it was in this Volkswagen, right? Red, what year is it? I don't know. I don't know car language, but it was very difficult to drive, and I wasn't
like
confident.
1885.
Yeah.
Old.
But it was like a
Good one.
camper Volkswagen van, and it was very old. It had a long stick shift with no labels, and it was like as long as my leg, and I was just like not comfortable driving it. So all the scenes are people pushed me into the scene, run off set. It's the funniest thing you've ever seen. Before you cut them off, it's just you see these little guys running off in the background. And then if we had to do the scenes again, so we got to do it different angles, everyone had to come and push the car back. So you see all these big, strong men coming around to push the car, and sadistic, and I was like, I think we need to mess up this next one so we could do another round. I don't know. This is really nice. So we were just having a lot of jokes, and I really loved getting to do stunts that day. So it was just a really exciting day because I like the physical acting too. That was a lot of fun. That was my favorite day.
Her nails are insane in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Sadistic, you might say.
Yeah.
I've asked her before because there's a scene where she's holding like a peanut or something, and I'm like, "How did you do that?" And she's like, "I've been wearing these nails for 40 years." I'm like, all right, I get it.
I don't know how to do it without them.
Yeah. But my favorite day on set was at the comedy club when there's a scene where Carrie's explaining to Charlie, like, oh, because, if you go into a comedy club, you see headshots of other famous comics that have been there. And so I'm doing that. And but that wasn't really in the script. And I just started leaning on the wall while we're waiting for a shot, because the scene is Charlie brings in a dead body to the club, and then I react, and I'm like, I don't think it's a real body. But that was the scene. But before we shot it, I'm just kind of making fun of the headshots, just being me. And so Aaron and I are just cracking jokes, and I'm saying the wrong names. I'm calling like Rodney Dangerfield, Don Wrinkles, which is even a play on Don Rickles. I'm not even saying Don Rickles right. So I'm just making fun of it. And Sean's hearing us laughing. He's like, oh, we should like film this. And so that's how the scene starts, is us kind of improvising what we were talking about when the cameras were off. And it was so hard to get through it. We kept laughing, and it's a 2-shot. So you see us, you can't like cut to Aaron and then cut to me when the other person's laughing. It was so difficult to get through in the best way possible, but it's become one of my favorite scenes in the movie just because I know like the backstory to it. So
the whole time in that scene, we're barely keeping it together.
Yeah.
It was specifically me. I could not handle it with his improv. It was so good.
Well, and then the line that you throw in at the end, well, who put this guy up here?
Yeah.
That was the crack. That's where I cracked every time.
Yeah.
Who's doing this? You guys.
Seriously. Probably someone else that put that there. That was kind of like, I don't know if there's if you kind of asked earlier about our stand-up like faves and stuff, but that was like a moment where I was pulling, and I'm sure like Austin and Aaron did the same, where there are other comics that inspired me in it. And in that moment, I would say I was pulling a little bit of Michael Scott, Steve Carell, because I feel like he would have done something like that, World's Best Boss, and like, oh, I didn't put that there. That must have been White who did that.
That was all Robert Dunne.
Yeah,
that was original.
Okay, never mind.
Kudos to Steve Carell, I get it, but
just kidding. It was me. But yeah, I was kind of playing that like doofy, dumb, like I don't know, but no one's buying it. So
yeah, but those always make the best, stories we've done. Our group, micro budget horror films that we've been lucky to get into some festivals and stuff, and always, no matter interview or personal experience, it's the stories about that like the days that you just keep laughing, and you're just, because you're enjoying each other's company, and it makes it feel, if it's a long day shooting or whatever, it's those kind of moments that doesn't make it feel like work, makes you, this is why we're doing it. And so that's cool to hear that story, man. Like,
And just to add to that, like, not only did we like each other's company on set, like which obviously makes it more fun. But when you're doing press for it afterward, you're stuck with each other. So it's because it's not just the movie and then we go home. It's like, oh, and now there's like a year's worth of press. Like, so it just works so well that like Sean and Ryan aren't here to speak, but it was just, we really felt like we were just a gang of friends making something. And so everything else that's come after this, like everything has just been great, like as a group to experience. So
yeah, the convention circuit was a lot of fun for all. It was like a family reunion every week, going to the next town to celebrate Cannibal Comedian coming out again.
Absolutely.
It's a testament to Sean for like keeping the group of you guys together, because the more you get to do together, the stronger the next one will be. Like the more experience that you guys have, with each other, you see it all the time, no matter, what kind of a film it may be. Like if they have, half a dozen, 10 titles together, like it's going to be good because they've worked together before, So it is.
And
really
I think it added to like, sorry to be, but like, all of us too, like, are at very similar points in our career. And so, it's not like Aaron just finished a Christopher Nolan movie and he's like doing, it's like we're all on this level together. And so it feels so intimate, like when we see each other like on a big screen or something, and it just feels like I don't know, like we have so much in common with each other, and we're just so happy to like, celebrate each other every time.
Yeah, like riding the same wave.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all in the same like van. So, which I don't know if that's a term. We're all in the same van, but man,
with a scary stick shift.
Yeah, with a skeleton skelly in it.
No, just like skeleton. We were picking up people every town we went.
You and those pickup lines.
We got people. Hey, we got people in every corner of the country that eventually, there's a few people even before the movie was fully done. We were able to go out and kind of promote it, and we meet amazing characters, whether they're on screen or not, that came in to support our film. And just, Caltech, one of them.
That guy.
Watch the movie just for the credits.
Yep.
And you'll get a great song for this.
Yeah,
movie.
Man.
And Andrea Moon made the movie what it was for sure. The essence of the era of everything, like the whole little world built was her. The background, the little details, and she was the body bag person too, FYI.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's the one thing about that prop, dragging the dead body through the desert and into the club. That wasn't a dead body. It was a live body, but it had the same weight as a dead body. So it made it look a little more real, which we like. But shout out to Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
That shot of you and her when you sit down at the table and you do as she's leaning over them. That made me laugh.
It's classic.
Yeah.
That shot is behind the Blu-ray. If you take the Blu-ray off and play it, you'll see that shot that you're talking about.
Oh yeah,
a cute shot. So,
well, the last thing that I had for you guys, and you guys have kind of touched on it, is the fan response. Because there is one thing, man, like I've gotten to do this for over 10 years now, whether it be convention moderation or the podcast. And the nicest thing that I have found with the horror community, and you guys have touched on this too, is the essence of family. And, Kane Hodder is just decapitating people on screen, and then when you meet the guy, he's doing like Make-A-Wish type stuff. And everybody in the horror world, fans, actors, directors, writers, are like the nicest people that I have ever met. I have like my nice person to dick ratio is like so nice person over dick when it comes to horror that it people don't believe me when I tell them. And so you guys getting to travel and do the convention thing and go out there and get to meet the people that are, watching and loving this film personally. What, talk a little bit more, like how has that been now for you guys? We can start with Aaron Austin.
Yeah, no, I'll say. So one specific thing I do remember when I first started to realize exactly what you're saying is that you go to these conventions and people dress up, people show up just like any other convention. But when a horror convention's in town, people will show up, as little, just as minor as an Ozzy Osbourne up to one of the killers in one of our movies. If you have a Freddy Krueger walking around, and it's just a fan. People they'll put blood on their face, they'll put makeup, they'll put crosses and stuff, and make them look scary and all this. And when you catch them in an elevator, we'll be riding an elevator down, and some guy, he's got chains and everything, and he may dress like that all the time. I don't know, but they're there for the convention, and you see a family who's not there at the convention, just at the hotel. They show up, they got their baby in the carriage, and you got these 3 ghouls along with a couple of clowns, me and Rob or Ross, us standing there, and they kind of stand in their corner, and then they get off the next floor, and we look at the people that are dressed in blood and hooks and chains and they go, yeah, we get it sometimes, but and it's so funny. You walk through the convention hall, and everyone is just loving up on everybody's costume, everyone how they look. Everyone's congratulating each other, even fellow filmmakers. We've had such benefit just from other people doing films. The Terrifier. We got Nathan Dalton with Haunted House of Pancakes coming up. We got a lot of these people that we all genuinely congratulate each other and thank each other for certain things and just for being there. And like I said earlier, the horror crowd is really, really nice, and they're a fun group of people to be around.
How about for you, Austin?
I was thrilled to see my character receive so well because Charlie is a very likable character. My character could be easily hated or liked, but the role would still serve its purpose. So I didn't know how people would receive Crystal. But to people come up to me and be like, oh, you're my favorite character, just like kind of threw me. And I'm like, oh, I'm so happy that a strong female character can be liked and appreciated for the role that she's playing. And my biggest brag I got, the first award I ever got in my life was at Horror Hound, and I beat out Jordan Peele for Best Supporting Actor. And that is just something that I'm never going to forget. And even if I get nothing else for the rest of my life, I have that, And it's surprising how many children love it too. There's a lot of children in the horror community who they love that kind of stuff, but they're so humble and sweet and polite. And you never would have think such a community would be so warm and welcoming, but they truly are. And they embrace each other's art in every form. And that's a really great thing to see, especially nowadays.
Yeah,
be on the lookout for Cannibal Comedian, the animated series for kids. I'm Nick Jr.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the video game.
The video game. God.
The 2D pixel video game.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty much just the backpack on what they were saying. It is crazy, going to all these horror conventions and all these people that just love seeing murder are the nicest people on the planet. And what the fans and, doing these conventions kind of essentially back to back for us, you run into the same people promoting other films. So we've gotten to know Bill Moseley pretty well, and David Thornton we've kept running into because Terrifier's everywhere. And then he lives not too far from me now, so I see him. And it's just this community just feels closer than I ever thought. I would just think, oh, it's so spread out, but man, it's just everyone is there to support you. I remember on the premiere of Cannibal Comedian, we had kind of a row of seats, just cast seats in the theater. And I saw someone sitting there and I didn't really recognize him at first. And I was like, oh, hey, because it was he's not in the movie. And I was like, hey, what's your name? And he's like, oh, it's Bill. I'm like, Bill who? He's like, Bill Moseley. I was like, oh, okay. Do you mind if I sit here? And so everyone's just warm, welcoming. There's no ego around. At least I didn't notice any. And it just feels like a community. So I always loved going to these conventions. It was the best.
Right on, man. Well, last thing, again, congratulations. The movie is out. pretty much everywhere. I know it's if you're a Screenbox subscriber, you can watch it there. But I personally watched it on Amazon. I think it's on Apple. So like you guys can find Cannibal Comedian pretty easily. So make sure you check it out.
No
sooner
excuse.
rather than later.
Yes, and please rate us if you can. You can be honest, but just get our word out there.
You can be honest, but say it's great.
Yeah. Say it sucks with pride.
Yeah. Usually a 10 is the most honest you can be.
Yeah,
Yes.
I also
Usually.
agree. Usually.
But where can everybody, find you guys, keep track of what you may be, working on next? Is there, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever you call it, like that? You guys are, updating people that may want to track what you guys have got in the pipeline?
Yeah, I mean, you can check me out. Just find me, Aaron Prager on Facebook, Aaron _Prager on Instagram. But yeah, I got, we all got a couple things coming up. I know, like I mentioned, Haunted House of Pancakes, Nathan Dalton's film. That's actually going to be showing in a couple places in the next few weeks. Cincinnati, March 22nd. And then at the end of April, we're having it in Sacramento. And I'm trying my best to get up there. We'll see if I can. But yeah, other than that, check me out.
Right on.
You can just check out my website, austinjudd.com. My Insta's Moonflower Model, and I'm also on IMDb. Simple as that. austinjudd.com has kind of a source for everything, so that's the easiest.
You can find me on it's pretty much this handles for everything: Instagram, TikTok, X, what have you. It's Robert Dunne, ITS Robert Dunne. And as far as lately, it's been Cannibal Comedian time, and then I have a feature flying out to Texas for during April, which I will be posting about when I can, as like principal photography gets rolling. And but yeah, follow me. Instagram is probably the one I'm on the most. TikToks are mostly for random silly ideas, which you may or may not like. So but follow anyway. Why not? And yeah, so pretty much that handle covers all your bases.
Right on, guys. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, Austin, and Robert. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On your time, and thank you for doing it. And we will have to get you guys up to Northern California to our horror con and do a reunion. And
let's do it.
All that kind of good stuff.
So down.
Thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.